Good evening and welcome to tonight's romantic sleep story for grown-ups. Under the Stars. Hailey felt his hands gently grasp her waist from behind, and she instantly recognized his scent. A captivating blend of fresh lavender, seductive violet, and warm, woody musk that made her knees buckle. She closed her eyes and took a breath of anticipation as he kissed her softly on the cheek and slowly wrapped his arms around her. She placed her hands over his as he whispered into her ear, "Missed you," sending flutters into the pit of her stomach. They had been dating for almost 6 months now, and everything was going wonderfully. They met at a mutual friend's wedding. She first caught his eye during the pre-ceremony mingling, where they exchanged shy, stolen glances. He eventually gathered the courage to introduce himself, and they shared a brief, warm conversation. However, before they could continue, the wedding started, and they took their seats on opposite sides of the aisle. One, a friend of the bride, the other, a friend of the groom. Throughout the ceremony, they both tried to sneak glances at each other, unsure if the other felt the same interest and spark. Noah thought she looked beautiful and stunning in her dusty blue dress, which perfectly complemented her graceful figure. The dress featured delicate lace detailing on the bodice and sleeves, with an elegant off-the-shoulder neckline that highlighted her collarbones. The skirt flowed gracefully with each step she took, giving her an ethereal, almost fairy tale-like appearance. Her long, dark hair cascaded in soft waves down her back, framing her face and accentuating her sparkling eyes and radiant smile. It wasn't until the reception dinner, with fate on their side, that they had the opportunity to meet again. They discovered they were seated at the same table, the quote-unquote singles table. As the night went on, their eyes met over dinner, the candlelight casting a warm glow. Although each of them engaged in conversations with other guests, they couldn't help but occasionally glance over at each other. Their eyes would linger for a moment, filled with an unspoken connection, followed by a soft blush and a quick, shy look away. Noah was the epitome of tall, dark, and handsome. Standing at 6 feet tall, he had a striking presence that immediately caught her eye. His dark brown hair, cut in a shorter tousled style, gave him an effortlessly stylish appearance, blending casual ease with a hint of sophistication. He had a naturally athletic build with broad shoulders and a trim waist. She would later discover his love for sports, particularly baseball and soccer, which explained his fit and toned look, enhancing his charm in a subtle, unpretentious way. On the night they met, he was dressed in a crisp white shirt with the sleeves casually rolled up, paired with a well-fitted beige vest and matching trousers. The outfit accentuated his athletic frame and added a touch of elegance to his relaxed demeanor. As the band started playing a slow, romantic tune, Noah, with a mix of nervousness and sincerity, approached her. With a genuine smile, he asked, "Would you like to dance? I promise I'm not too terrible." His awkward honesty made Hailey laugh. It was endearing because he wasn't trying to be smooth or impressive, yet somehow he was. She smiled back, her heart fluttering, and took his hand. They moved to the dance floor, where they swayed together under the soft glow of twinkling fairy lights. His initial nervousness faded as they talked and laughed, discovering how naturally they fit together. From that night onward, he got her number and they began seeing each other regularly. Now, nearly 6 months later, Hailey often reminisced about that evening. A warm, fuzzy happiness filled her heart whenever she thought of his sweet, awkward question that had started their beautiful journey together. She turned around now to face him, their eyes meeting as she placed her hands on his jawline and gently pulled him in for a kiss. She had been waiting for him at one of their favorite sushi restaurants near her apartment. It was a place they frequented often, and Friday nights there had become a comfortable, familiar routine. They had texted earlier that day, casually planning their date, despite their growing closeness over the past several months. She wasn't sure if he remembered that tomorrow was her birthday. 3 months earlier, they had celebrated his birthday together at a small amusement park on the outskirts of the city. The evening was magical, filled with go-karting, Ferris wheel rides, and batting cage fun, all interspersed with a few playful carnival games. She delighted in discovering his competitive side and admired his athleticism and sharpshooting skills when he won her a giant teddy bear at the darts game. As they strolled hand in hand through the twinkling lights of the carnival, a sense of romance enveloped them. She had given him a personalized baseball jersey from his favorite team, adorned with his favorite number and his last name on the back. He was thrilled, and they promised that one day they would watch a game together, with him proudly wearing the jersey. Tomorrow was her birthday, and she couldn't help but wonder if he had remembered. About a month ago, it had come up in conversation, and she had mentioned the plans she had made with friends for this weekend. Despite their casual texts throughout the day, he hadn't hinted at any special plans or gifts for her. It bothered her a little. After all, she had gone out of her way to plan a special outing and gift for his birthday. It would be disappointing if he didn't do the same for her. Still, she didn't want to bring it up and risk sounding needy. She decided to wait and see, hoping that he had something special in mind. Maybe she was just being silly, she thought, as he took her hand and they walked into the sushi restaurant for dinner. Dinner was enjoyable. The restaurant offered booth-like rooms with pillows along the benches, allowing diners to sit cross-legged. Soft Japanese printed curtains hung at the corners of the door frames, and ornamental white cherry blossom trees were placed throughout, creating the illusion of walking through a cherry blossom park. Tiny fairy lights weaved into the faux cherry blossom trees, adding a romantic ambience. Dark bamboo poles, artificial wooden shutters, and dark wooden tables and chairs in the open spaces made it feel like an ancient Japanese village. The trickling water from the tiny Zen garden at the front entrance added to the calming atmosphere. They both ordered special rolls from the menu. As they waited for their dishes to arrive, Noah seemed preoccupied with work, finishing a short email. He was a sports editor for a mid-sized magazine company, always keeping up with current events. Intellectual and smart, he loved sports, but was also the silent type, introverted yet undeniably charming once you got to know him. Hailey, on the other hand, was a graphic designer at a downtown firm, creative and a bit more outgoing. Like him, she was also very career-oriented. As she waited for Noah to finish, she watched the waitress preparing their tea and setting the utensils for their table, as she patiently waited for Noah to finish. After a few moments, he put away his phone and apologized for the interruption. They then began to discuss their day's events at work, but in the back of Hailey's mind, she couldn't help but wonder if he had really forgotten about her birthday. It was starting to feel like any one of their other dates. Noah glanced over at Hailey and moved over to the other side of the table to sit next to her, kissing her forehead briefly, and then refilling her small porcelain cup with more green tea. Should she say something? She thought. What if he was planning to surprise her, and bringing it up might ruin things? She decided not to say anything and tried to enjoy their evening together. After all, it wasn't her birthday today. He still had time, she convinced herself. After they finished their meal, sharing a few bites off each other's plates and gazing into each other's eyes intermittently, Hailey still felt swept away whenever their eyes lingered. Noah had the most beautiful green eyes. They sometimes looked exotic, vibrant and verdant like a lush green forest with a gentle mist inside. As they left the cozy sushi restaurant, the evening air felt refreshing. They walked hand in hand, the city lights guiding them to their next destination, the movie theater, where they planned to catch a new film and likely call it a night afterward. At the theater, they shared a bag of popcorn and a drink, holding hands and cuddling as they watched the movie together. Occasionally, Noah would kiss the side of Hailey's head whenever she snuggled closer under his arm. It was all part of the honeymoon phase of their budding relationship, where they were still getting to know each other. They were comfortable now, holding hands, kissing often, and seemed unable to keep their hands off each other. Yet, there was still small details that they were discovering about one another. Like the other day when he had shared a cherished memory from his childhood. His dad used to work at a baseball stadium and would take him along during late shifts. When the stadium was empty and silent, his dad would turn on the field lights just for them. they would practice baseball together, and Noah would pretend to be a professional player, with his dad cheering him on from the pitcher's mound. It was their special time, a secret world where the stadium felt like their own. They still had many firsts as a new couple ahead of them, like celebrating her birthday as a couple and meeting each other's parents. The evening had grown late after the movie, and they got back into Noah's car. Hailey assumed he would drop her home for the night, but instead, Noah drove past her apartment building and kept going. Hailey glanced out the window, noticing they had passed her place. "Where are we going? You just missed my apartment," she said with a small chuckle, thinking he had made a mistake. Noah was quiet for a moment before he replied, "What do you mean? I didn't pass your house." "You're kidding, right?" Hailey asked, her eyes narrowing with a hint of suspicion. Noah paused briefly, then glanced at Hailey and smiled before returning his gaze to the road. "All right, I have something special planned," he said, his voice soft and mysterious. "It's a surprise," he whispered. "Can you do me a favor and put on those eye covers in the glove compartment?" He gestured to the compartment in front of Hailey. "What's going on?" Hailey asked nervously, her mind racing with excitement at the thought that he might have remembered her birthday tomorrow. But where could they be going so close to midnight? As she reached into the glove compartment and pulled out the eye mask, she couldn't help but smile. She slipped the mask over her face, her heart pounding with anticipation. Hailey felt Noah reach for her hands and squeeze them as he placed them on his lap while he drove. She tried a few more times to inquire about their destination, but Noah just kept saying, "You'll just have to wait and see." After about 25 minutes, Hailey could feel the car slowing down. It was slightly nerve-wracking not knowing where they were headed, especially with the blindfold covering her eyes. But Noah's hand holding hers was reassuring, almost promising, as he gently rubbed his thumb against the side of her hand. Noah was thoughtful in ways that mattered, always paying attention to the little things that made her happy. Thinking back, she questioned herself on how she could have believed he had forgotten her birthday. He wasn't one to often plan big surprises, but he would pick up her favorite chocolate bar when she had a rough day, or buy chicken noodle soup from a restaurant when she was sick, knowing his cooking skills were limited. She remembered how he let her rest on his lap while he watched a sporting event, making sure not to get too excited so as not to wake her, gently brushing her hair with his fingers. As the car came to a stop, she felt a mix of curiosity and anticipation, eager to discover what he had in store for the remainder of their evening. Hailey could feel the car pull to a stop, and she began to ask, "Can I take it off now?" She heard him moving in the driver's seat and taking the keys out of the ignition. Just a few more minutes. Stay here for a moment, and I'll come around to open your door. Promise no peeking?" he asked, pausing and waiting for her response. Okay, she replied, a nervous smile spreading across her lips. She heard the driver's door open and shut, followed by a pop of the trunk. She could hear him rummaging around, and after a few minutes, the trunk closed and her passenger door opened. "Okay," he said, taking her hand closest to the door and leading her slowly out of the car, making sure she didn't bump her head as she exited the vehicle. "Let me just close the door," he said as he led her out slowly. "Just follow my voice. I've got you." The air was crisp and fresh, carrying the scent of pine needles as Hailey felt the soft grass beneath her feet. Crickets chirped in the distance, adding a soothing background melody. As they walked further away from the car, a gentle breeze brushed against her skin. Noah carefully removed her eye mask, and she opened her eyes to reveal a breathtaking scene. Spread out before her was a cozy blanket on the grassy top of a small mountain, overlooking the city lights twinkling like stars below. The night sky was clear, filled with a canopy of stars that added a touch of enchantment. In the center of the blanket was a glass lantern with a softly flickering candle, surrounded by an array of candles that cast a warm, romantic glow. Twinkle lights were delicately arranged around the blanket, creating a magical ambience. The blanket was inviting, decorated with plush cushions and pillows that beckoned her to sit and relax. Nearby, a cooler hinted at the thoughtful refreshments Noah had prepared for the evening. The serene sounds of crickets and the occasional rustle of leaves created a tranquil atmosphere. Noah gently guided her to sit down. "Sit here for a minute. I have one more thing to grab," he said softly. As she settled onto the blanket, she took in the beautiful scene. The glow of the candles, the sparkling city lights below, and the star-filled sky above. It was an incredibly romantic setting, thoughtfully arranged, filling her heart with joy and anticipation for what was to come. The city lights below were beautiful, a bird's eye view from where they were perched, making Hailey feel larger than life. The view was spectacular, with the moon in the sky and the twinkling stars on this clear June evening. Noah returned with another blanket, which he gently draped over Hailey's shoulders. "Better?" he asked softly. She nodded in agreement, not needing to say a word. "Bet you thought I forgot," he chuckled. "I didn't say anything," Hailey retorted. "But this is very sweet," she added, gleaming into his eyes. He smiled at her and checked his watch, which read just past midnight. From behind his back, he presented her with a beautifully wrapped present. It was covered in midnight blue paper with silver stars dotting it and tied with a big blue velvet ribbon with silver lacing. "Happy birthday, Hailey," he said with a mix of nervousness and anticipation in his voice. Oh wait, I also have a birthday card, he continued. I know how you like it when I write you little notes, so I thought you'd appreciate it in a birthday card. It was funny watching him, someone who professionally read and rewrote articles every day. But somehow, a bit of uncertainty lingered in his voice as he handed her the card. Hailey carefully opened the pristine white envelope that had "Happy Birthday, Hailey" written on the front. She carefully pulled out the card. It was a blank card that he had customized himself, with a hand-drawn bouquet of a dozen roses in black ink on the front. Hailey took a moment to admire his roses, feeling a bit teary-eyed from the moment she began to open the card. It read, "To the girl I would gladly give the world to. It's your birthday. Yay, and I didn't forget. I wanted to do something special for you, because you're the girl who took my hand when I offered you a dance. Thanks for taking a chance on me. I'm so glad to be a part of your life and to be the guy who gets to celebrate your birthday with you. When I'm with you, I feel like I'm dancing under the stars. Every day feels like a dream. Because you mean more to me than words can express, and are truly one of a kind, I wanted to give you something special for your birthday." He signed it, "Your boyfriend, Noah," with a winky face. This was truly heartfelt, as neither of them had yet uttered those 3 words to each other. They both had secretly found moments when they had wanted to say it, but neither had taken that step yet. After reading the card, and with glistening eyes, Hailey looked at Noah, who cast her a warm smile. She bit her lip and felt tears well up as she held the open card to her heart. "Thank you," she mouthed, unable to vocalize the words. He smiled at her and said, "Open it," his eyes now looking down at the gift between them. She carefully pulled the ribbon to untie the wrapped present and began to slowly peel the tape to unwrap the edges. Noah kept his eyes on the gift and watched her every reaction as she slowly revealed a midnight blue box matching the wrapping paper, with a logo resembling a shooting star. Hailey carefully opened the box to find a beautifully framed star certificate inside. Her eyes widened with surprise and emotion as she read the certificate. It detailed the coordinates of a star that had been officially named Hailey's Star. The inscription read, "The twinkle in your eyes is like the brightest stars on the clearest night." As she looked up at Noah, her eyes filled with tears of joy. "You named a star after me?" she asked, her voice trembling with emotion. Noah nodded, a tender smile on his face. "It's also a star within your constellation, Gemini," he said, beaming proudly. "Now, whenever you look up at the night sky, you'll know that there's a star out there that belongs to you." In that moment, she remembered a few months ago when they were driving back from a weekend getaway in the countryside. The night sky was exceptionally clear, and they had pulled over to the side of the quiet road to take in the view. Excitedly, she had pointed out constellations and shared her childhood fantasy that the stars were angels in the sky, answering her prayers every time they flickered. Growing up, her family moved a lot, and on the nights she felt the loneliest, the stars were the one constant thing in her life that held no judgment and comforted her soul. They were her silent companions, always there, always listening. She had felt vulnerable sharing that memory with him, worried it might sound silly. Noah had listened intently, his eyes reflecting the starlight as she spoke. He understood that the stars had once been her comfort growing up, a whimsical belief that held a magic all its own. He wanted to give her a piece of that magic back, a star of her own that would keep her company no matter where life took her. It was his way of showing her that those cherished childhood beliefs were meaningful and beautiful, and what made Hailey so special. Tears welled up in her eyes as she recalled that memory. Thank you, Noah. This is the most thoughtful gift anyone has ever given me, she said softly, her voice choked with emotion. He squeezed her hand gently, his eyes filled with sincerity. You deserve all the stars in the sky, Hailey, he said. Hailey placed the registered star certificate frame to one side and threw her arms around him, overwhelmed by the heartfelt gesture. It's perfect, thank you, she whispered, holding him close under the sparkling sky. She began to kiss his forehead and his cheeks, slowly making her way to his lips. She paused for a moment, looking into his dreamy green eyes that sparkled in the candlelight around them. With her hands cradling his jawline, she leaned in for a slow, passionate kiss, her fingers tangling in his hair. As their lips met, the kiss deepened, becoming more intense. Their breaths grew ragged as they kissed, mouths exploring each other with increasing urgency. Caught up in the moment, Hailey slowly began to straddle his lap, felt her heart racing as she pressed herself closer to him. She felt his hands gripping her more firmly, pulling her closer, making her feel as if they were melting into each other. She could feel the warmth of his breath mixing with hers, the sensation sending shivers down her spine as they lay back onto the blanket together. His hands moved from her waist up the sides of her body, his touch leaving a trail of heat. As they kissed under the starlit sky, Noah suddenly felt a small box pressing into his side of his pants pocket and remembered he had another surprise. Wait, he said, breathless, breaking the kiss. I have something else for you. Don't want to crush it," he said softly, as he began to sit up and shift onto his knees to dig into his side pants pocket. It looked like a ring box, and for a moment Hailey was taken aback. It couldn't be, she thought. That would be crazy. Noah saw the look in her eyes and seemed to read her mind, quickly opening the box to avoid any misunderstanding. Inside was a delicate open star-shaped diamond pendant, twinkling in the candlelight. The pendant was exquisitely crafted, the outline of the star encrusted with tiny sparkling diamonds that caught the light and shimmered beautifully. Hailey gasped softly, her fingers lightly touching the pendant as she admired its intricate beauty. "Hailey," Noah said softly, "just like the star I had registered in your name, I wanted you to have something you could wear close to your heart. A reminder that you're my shining star and that you can count on me to be there for you." He took a gulp, feeling vulnerable as the words revealed his growing commitment to her. Hailey was now overwhelmed by the thoughtfulness and beauty of the gift. "It's absolutely beautiful, Noah. Thank you," she whispered, her voice filled with gratitude. With a wide smile, he took the pendant and offered to fasten it around her neck. Hailey pulled her hair to one side, admiring the pendant with her eyes as he placed it around her neck. The diamond star lay against her skin, sparkling with every movement. "You deserve the world," he said, pulling her in for a loving embrace. "And I hope this shows you how much you mean to me." She smiled and said, "I could kiss you all over again," as she held the pendant in her hand and admired its stunning beauty. "Can you show me the real star now?" she asked eagerly. Using the map and a cell phone app, they were able to locate the star in the sky. Hailey couldn't believe his thoughtful gesture. It was so romantic and such a unique gift for her birthday. The pendant was just the icing on the cake. It was more than she had ever anticipated from Noah. It would be a birthday she would remember forever. For several moments, they lay looking up at the stars and trying to spot constellations. Noah even had a cake in his tiny cooler that he lit up with sparklers while singing happy birthday to her. They enjoyed the cake together under the stars. And shortly after, Noah went back to the car to grab something. It was his portable Bluetooth speaker, and he began to put on some music. Hailey could hear the opening piano notes of "You Are So Beautiful" by Joe Cocker. Noah took Hailey's hand and mouthed, "Can I have this dance?" just as he had the first night they met at the wedding. As she took his hand, Hailey looked at Noah and thought to herself how she was the luckiest girl in the world. In their socks, upon the blanket with the city lights in the background, the twinkling stars, and the moonlight. They danced. Both his hands rested on her waist, and her arms were draped across the back of his neck as they gazed into each other's eyes, feeling the overwhelming blossoming of love between them. He wiped the happy tears from her eyes and kissed her tenderly on her lips. His lips on hers were so gentle and soft that it felt as if he was lifting her off her feet. When their lips finally parted, she felt as if she were floating. And as the song drew to a close, Noah whispered into Hailey's ear, "I love you."